Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about a currently enrolling clinical trials called Kinetic 2 for Essential Tremor. Again, my name is TinaMarie Lieu. I'm the Medical Director of Medical Affairs at Sage Therapeutics. But before I start, I just want to highlight a couple of disclosures. The first is Sage 324 is an investigational compound that is not approved by any regulatory authority for any use. Secondly, the safety and efficacy of Sage 324 have not been established, and therefore there is no guarantee that the outcome of these studies will result in any approval by a health authority. And with that, the agenda of the talk will be, I'll go over the overview of our clinical program. We'll talk about how do you get information if you want to follow up and figure out more information about Kinetic 2. And then, as Patrick mentioned, we'll take the Q&A at the very end. All right, evaluating Sage 324, Biogen 124 in essential tremor. So Sage 324, for short, for the brevity of the talk, I'll just call it Sage 324, is an oral investigational drug that is thought to act on the activity of a receptor called gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA for short, in the brain. GABA is a primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system and plays an important role in maintaining balance of a neuronal activity in the brain. We are jointly developing Sage 324 with Biogen under a collaboration and licenses agreement that became effective as of December 2020. Okay, we're going to go over the clinical trial overview. And so clinical research studies, also called clinical trials, are conducted to test whether an investigational drug should be approved for the wider use of the general population. The US FDA requires that several phases of a clinical trial be performed to better understand the safety and efficacy of any investigational drugs and certain medical devices. Clinical research studies must be approved by what's called an IRB, or an Institutional Review Board, or Ethics Committee. So these bodies are really responsible for helping to protect the rights and the welfare of the study participant. Every study participant is informed of potential risk as well as potential benefits of participating in a clinical trial before entering the study. And that during the trial, they are monitored with study-related medical tests and exams before, during, and then sometimes after the study. Participation in any clinical research study is completely voluntary, and that the participants may choose to leave the study at any time for any reason. Participants' records of being in the study will be kept confidential, except when ordered by the law or when participants authorize disclosure through a signed informed consent form or through a separate authorization. Information collected about participants is not connected to details that could be used for any direct identification, such as your name, address, or social security number. For some records, however, they may include names, such as the consent forms, but typically only the initials or the subject number will be used to identify the participant information. Okay. And with that, here is the overview of our clinical trials. It's called Kinetic 2, and you can find it on clinicaltrials.gov at the top right corner there. We are registered under clinical trial number NCT 0517302. The objective, this is a phase 2 study, and the study objective is to evaluate the safety and tolerability of Sage 324 in participants with ET. We also want to evaluate the effect of the different oral doses of Sage 324 compared to placebo on the upper limb tremor reduction, as well as the activities of daily living in individuals living with ET. The design of the study is such that it is a placebo-controlled, double-blinded study where patients will be randomly assigned a group to either receive the active investigational drug, Sage 324, or the placebo, which is the inactive substance that looks like the drug or the treatment being tested. The study is randomized, double-blinded, which means that neither the participant nor the study doctor will know which group the individual is in. The study will include different oral doses of the investigational drug. And then for those that are placed in the arm where you will be receiving the highest dose of Sage 324, it will be up titrated, meaning you'll start at the lower dose and then increasing that dose over time. Sage 324 will be dosed at night. And in terms of participation, the study is currently enrolling for those individuals with ET in the US, with more clinical sites to be added in the second half of 2022. Eligible individuals that are impacted by ET will participate in the studies for approximately 4.5 months, with about 11 total in-person clinic visits over the course of the study. All right. Next, I'd like to cover the eligibility requirements for Kinetic 2. And again, I just want to highlight that while I list some eligibility requirements, I want to note that this is not a complete list of study requirements. So to participate in this study, participant must be between 18 and 80 years old at the time of screening. They must have a diagnosis of ET for at least 3 years prior to screening. They must experience tremors in the upper limb, with or without tremor in other locations, such as head, voice, or lower limb, and be willing to discontinue other medications taken for the treatment of essential tremor at least 14 days before the study and for the duration of the study as the participant. The participant must not have any prior surgical treatment for their ET. And again, I spoke to screening earlier, and screen testing will be performed to really help the study clinician decide if the participants are eligible to participate in this clinical trial. We have also what is called an open label safety study. So unlike what I just described to you earlier, which is a phase 2 randomized double-blinded, this open label study is really for individuals who have taken part in the previous study with our investigational drug, Sage 324, where they may be eligible to participate in an open label study for safety and tolerability. And in this study, all participants will receive the study drug over the extended period of time. So there is no placebo control group. The Kinetic open label study, safety study, will provide more information about the long-term safety of Sage 324. So here you can see a visual representation of the selected sites in blue and the active sites in yellow across the US. And I apologize that these pins are quite small to see, but on the next slide, I will show you the bullet points of the different sites. So here's a list of actively recruiting sites. You can see here at the very top, currently enrolling. And then we have these at the very bottom, cities currently expected to open for enrollment throughout the end of this year. Travel support may be available for interested participants in locations where sites are not available. And I will, on the next slide, provide how you can obtain more information about what sites might be opening near you. All right, so where can you learn if you want to know more about Kinetic 2? So for more information, please visit kinetic2researchtrial.com. This website can help you determine if you potentially qualify for the study or if you wanted to stay up to date on actively recruiting study sites. If you want to know more about the eligibility I spoke to you or any other information, you can go to the clinicaltrials.gov website. Again, our study ID is NTC 05173012. If you have any general inquiries or questions, you can email us at clinicaltrialsinquiry@sagerx.com.